not because you're afraid you're doing something wrong and you'll get in trouble if you slip up. Welcome to the Wisdom of the Body podcast. I'm your host, Heather Grzych. Here, we talk about the profound connection between mind, body, and spirit. Join me and other authors, wellness experts, and everyday individuals talk about the importance of listening to our bodies, trusting our guts, and living in deeper harmony with nature. So, whether you're seeking guidance on your wellness journey or simply looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. We're thrilled to be in the top 3% of podcasts globally. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and most other places where people listen to podcasts. You can follow by joining my email list at heathergrzych.com or by following me on Instagram at Heather Grzych. That's Heather, Grzych. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Body. I'm Heather Grzych, and today I want to talk with you about something that touches every part of our lives, our work, our relationships, and our well-being, and even our writing and our content that we put into the world. Sometimes the quietest shifts come when we allow ourselves the space to be truly seen and understood, opening a door to a deeper sense of ease and balance. But why is it that so often we focus on what's wrong before we see what's right? Why can one piece of criticism stay with us way longer than 10 compliments could? The truth is, humans are biologically and mentally hardwired to respond more strongly to negative feedback than to positive. It has more intensity to it. So even in sales and marketing communications, we're taught to focus on the problem so that the person feels the emotional vulnerability that, of course, we can then bring the solution for. And from an evolutionary standpoint, focusing on problem solving helped us survive. But on a path of healing, and especially in an Ayurvedic or a spiritual context, this hardwiring can become a barrier to wholeness. And it can actually harm us mentally or physically and emotionally if it's done excessively. So today, I want to explore why we do this, what Ayurveda has to say about it, and how we can gently begin to unhook from a feedback loop of negativity so that we can return to clarity, peace, presence, or just some state of being that actually feels good. Yeah? One of the things I love about studying yoga, meditating, or even reviewing my own writing is that they're all ways to get to know my mind. That's one of the reasons I loved studying yoga. They're all great self-awareness tools. I mean, yeah, okay, the yoga gives you like a nice body too, right? But maybe you've noticed some things about how you or other people operate through these methods, like studying your mind, studying your writing, your words in your writing, or maybe you've noticed some things about other people's minds through these processes. Let's start with the science. In modern psychology, having a propensity for a feedback loop of negativity is called a negativity bias. This is probably the vast majority of people on the planet. It's certainly like everybody where I grew up in this small town, this small Italian American town on the East Coast. I feel like it's so easy for people to have a negativity bias. But it's our tendency to notice or dwell on and react more intensely to negative information. And it's why your mind might replay that one critical comment over and over and over again in your mind, even if you received a dozen positive ones. And it's why one slip up on your wellness journey can feel like failure. Even if you've been incredibly consistent otherwise, if you've made great strides, you can really beat yourself up when you feel like you're not perfect. But any kind of negative bias, any kind of bias is a limited view of life. So biases in general are limited ways of seeing the world. They're filters that we've developed. And in the case of an overly negative focus, this is an example of what we would call in Sanskrit prajna parada, or a misuse of the intellect. So it's when our inner knowing our inner awareness, our direct perception gets overridden by ruminations or conditioning or these old mental imprints or samskaras. And instead of moving forward, we dwell in judgment, we dwell in guilt or fear or some other emotion, imbalanced emotion, and then we become mentally and emotionally constipated. And when this happens, it blocks the channels of the mind from being clear. So we call the channels of the mind the manovahasrotas, the mind channel in Sanskrit. So just like you have physical channels of digestion or circulation, these subtle channels of the mind get clogged with the residue of old thoughts, unresolved emotions, or feedback loops that we never let go of. And this mental emotional blockage doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your body. The mind and the body are not separate. I don't have to tell you that, you know that. And what disturbs your mind is eventually going to disturb the doshas. So chronic negativity and stress could increase vata, could lead to anxiety, insomnia, physical issues. It can overheat pitta, resulting in inflammation or heartburn or irritability. And if a person has a predominance of tamas, sort of an inert state of mind, then it can aggravate other things as well. It can aggravate kapha. It can cause us to gain weight, be depressed, or have sluggish physiology. And modern science could confirm this because there's research that's been published that's shown that people have stronger physiological and emotional reactions to negative stimuli than to positive stimuli. So when you have a negativity bias, you will actually have a stronger physiological and emotional reaction to that. Chronic stress, especially from negative persistent thought patterns, it can elevate your cortisol levels, it can suppress your immune function, and it can actually increase the risk of cardiovascular and autoimmune conditions. So in essence, your thoughts actually shape your biochemistry and your capacity for resilience. So if you hold on to that one comment, that one failure, that one judgment, you're not just hurting your feelings, you're compromising your immunity, your well-being, and your vitality. You could create toxins in your body that affect you on a subtle and a physical level. This might show up in daily life, like maybe you've committed to healing something in your body, your digestion or your hormones, or improving your fertility, or deepening your spiritual practice, or sleeping better, whatever that is. You're doing your morning routine, you're eating the way you think you're supposed to eat, you're working with the seasons, you're meditating, you're doing all the stuff that we want to do in Ayurveda. And then one night you stay up too late, or you eat something fried and heavy, or you drink a bunch of wine and you have to pee all night or something. And suddenly that inner voice starts up. You failed. You're off track. What's wrong with you? Well, here's the important thing to remember. Ayurvedic practices and therapies are meant to help you feel well, not because you're afraid you're doing something wrong and you'll get in trouble if you slip up. That's just a layer of conditioning that's there. That's another kind of programming that many people bring into their healing journey, and it has to go because healing is about care. It's not about punishment. So maybe someone else says something like, maybe it's a loved one or a colleague or a stranger on social media says a comment that makes you question your approach or doubt your process or challenges your progress even. And you carry that comment and it lingers in these ruminating thoughts and the cascade of physical effects that can happen from that. I know I've been talking a lot about negativity because this is all about negativity, but we got to get to the positive here. So there's a really cool Zen Buddhist story that I love about two monks that are walking down a muddy road during a rainstorm. And they come across a young woman in a kimono who wouldn't cross a large puddle without soiling her clothes. So it's like a flowing puddle or a river, she needs to get across, but she doesn't want to go because she's got this gorgeous silk kimono on and doesn't want to get it dirty. So without hesitation, one of the monks goes and picks her up and carries her across. And after that, she thanks him, and the monk goes back to the muddy road with his friend, and they continue walking. Now, hours have gone by after this moment, and the other monk who did not carry the woman across said, "Hey, we are monks and we don't go near women. So why did you do that? Why did you carry that woman across?" And the monk who carried her replies, he says, "I put that woman down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This hits deep, doesn't it? Because how often do we carry something long after it's over? Someone else might drop a comment or a judgment or even act with good intentions, but it didn't feel good to us in that moment, and we hold it. We replay it and we analyze it. So this is what happens when these mental qualities of rajas and tamas. So rajas is this quality of agitation. Tamas is this quality of inertia. When these qualities start to dominate the mind, we either become restless and reactive or we sink into heaviness and confusion. So returning to balance requires us to cultivate a third way, which is sattva, clarity, harmony, light. Sattva, getting outside of these attachments, to give ourselves the ability to let go, to put the woman down, to not keep carrying every critique, every mistake, every moment that didn't go as planned. All right, so then how do we do this? How do we get back to this state of sattva? How do we shift out of a negativity bias? How do we shift into our wisdom? Because a lot of us are living these amazing lives and everything in front of us, not everything, but so many of the things in front of us are so beautiful and so wonderful. And we just get so sucked into this negativity. Okay, so here are a few things that you could do. First of all, you have to recognize that this is happening, right? So recognizing the pattern, just noticing that your mind is stuck on something is just the first step. And, I'm sure there are a lot of therapists that focus on this. These are mind-body techniques that we use in Ayurveda, not necessarily psychological techniques. So you can ask yourself, is my mind stuck in a crime against my wisdom? And if you say yes, like, yes, this is my mind stuck here in this prajnaparada, this crime against my intellect. Oh, I can choose a new thought. That's amazing. I can choose a new thought. Yeah. So there are ways, once you realize that you can cleanse the mind channel. So there are ways that we could do this physically, but other ways that you could do it are journaling, breath work, meditation, even sometimes just pranayama, a little bit of breathing can reset these mental channels. And another thing you can do is choose an input of clarity of sattva. So be mindful of your sensory diet. So anything you take into your senses, whether that's your food that you eat, has a clarity and a purity to it, whatever it is that you watch or you listen to or you read, all affects your state of mind. So avoid any type of improper use of the senses so that you can have clarity in your mind and actually see that you are in this state and can do something about it. And I think coming at it with this really super compassionate curiosity, it's like, well, what can I learn here? Instead of saying something like, oh, what's wrong with me? Responding with curiosity, not responding with shame. Just what could we do about this that's a little bit different? And there's a great practice in the yogic practices called pratipaksha bhavana. And some people call it turning a negative into a positive, or I've heard other people refer to it as flipping the script. So this is when you replace a negative thought with a positive opposite. So if you have some kind of inner critic that says, I'm failing, you can counter that with, oh, I'm growing. instead of saying something like, oh, they don't believe in me, you could say, I believe in myself. So it's like just redirecting the mind to a different thought, just choosing a different thought that has a different quality to it. And you know this by how it feels, right? So one person could have one thought and another person could have the same thought, and it might feel negative to one person and not negative to another person. So this is really an inner practice that you have to do. Flipping the script, super helpful. You can also raise your awareness of your mental state by observing your thoughts. So you can meditate to do this. You can review the words that you use in your private writing, if you journal or if you write, or if you go to therapy, your therapist will give you a reflection on this. If you read your social media captions that you put on other people's pages or that you write on your social media page, any writing that you put out there, any words are going to tell you what's going on in your mind. Texts or emails that you send to people, they're all going to give you an understanding of the words you're choosing to use. And I would guess that I'm not a great visual artist. It's not something that I've cultivated as a practice, but I would imagine if you have another art form that you process the world through, that you can even see this in your art in some form. But I happen to use words a lot, and I love words because I'm a writer. And, I think it's an easy way for us to look at the language that we use, and that will often reveal what our mind is dwelling on. And if we notice patterns in communication, that can offer insight into where we might be stuck and how we might shift. So as long as we remember that this path is not about perfection, it's about relationship. So the relationship to your body, the relationship to your mind, the relationship to your environment, your soul, with the understanding that everything is always changing. And it's about learning when to hold on, when to lovingly, consciously let go of something. Because the true wisdom of the body, it doesn't live in critique, it lives in connection, it lives in clarity, and it lives in this idea of sattva, this luminosity. So you can take a breath with me now, and you can ask yourself, what can I put down today? And as you begin to notice the subtle ways that your mind holds on to old stories, you might find yourself naturally drawn to new perspectives, ones that feel more freeing and nourishing to your whole being. I always tell my clients to do the thing that makes them feel a little weird, because that's actually what allows you to change. When you reach out, this is super freeing. Until next time, listen to your body, trust your gut, and live in deeper harmony with nature. If you are embarking on a fertility journey and are ready to have your mind blown about what your body is really capable of and how it's impacted by the environment, then check out my book, The Ayurvedic Guide to Fertility. You can actually download the introduction to the book for free on my website at heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. Read the intro for free and then buy the rest of this fertility enlightening book pretty much anywhere books are sold. Feeling like there's just not enough time in the day? You're not alone. Many of my clients, like Jessica, come to me overwhelmed, struggling and feeling the effects of aging. After just a few Ayurvedic sessions, Jessica was sleeping better, her digestion was regular, and she felt her vitality again. Ayurveda isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about creating balance so you can make time for what matters. Ready to reset your health and your life? Visit heathergrzych.com and book your consultation today. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.